Good evening, Mr. Mounir Bouchenaki, and thank you so much, sir, for granting Cambodianess the opportunity for the interview here at SIEM REAP province. And tomorrow will be the 40th technical session of the meeting of the ICC-Angkor. And I just want to ask you a bit backwards to the past, because there have been already 39 sessions, I assume, because tomorrow will be the 40th.
Yes.
So is it okay if you can, bring our audiences on your journey from the beginning until now? What has happened majorly, sir?
With pleasure. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. I would like to express my thanks to the Royal Government of Cambodia. I want to say that I was privileged when I was Director of Cultural Heritage at UNESCO in 1992. After the peace agreement, we called it Paris Peace Agreement, I was really privileged to be asked by the Director General of UNESCO of that time, Federico Mayor. He called me and he said, Mounir, I want you to come very quickly. I am going to receive His Majesty King Norodom Sihanouk.
Yes, sir.
He is coming with his wife, and the question is about cultural heritage. So I went to his office, and he explained that fortunately Cambodia now is returned to a peaceful time. It had a terrible history, but one of the priority that he wanted to present to the Director General of UNESCO, he said, we want, as Cambodians, to have the recognition of Angkor as a World Heritage Site. And so the Director General asked me, as Director of Cultural Heritage, to do whatever is possible to give the support to Cambodia for this aim, for this target, having Angkor on the World Heritage List. So we worked in a very, very strong manner with high-level responsible, at that time the Assistant Director General for Culture, Henri Lopez from Congo, Congo-Brazzaville, asked me to travel with him here in Cambodia when the country was still under the APRONUC, and we came to SIEM REAP. You cannot imagine how SIEM REAP was, because it was a small village.
Compared to today.
Compared to what we see today,
yes,
which is a very, very big transformation. We came here, we saw the troops of the UN. They were accompanying us to the various temples, but telling us, be careful, we cannot authorize you to go inside the temple because of the mine. The site was really dangerous, and the UN troops, they started already to identify the place where we should not enter. We had also at that time Hungarian responsible for the UN, for the United Nations, and by chance he was an archaeologist. So he gave to my colleagues, to myself, a lot of support, even a helicopter, and we went around the different temples here in the Angkor area.
So you see the temple from the top of the sky?
From the top, but also by road. For example, to go to SIEM REAP was quite complicated, not like today. So this was the first step of having UNESCO putting efforts for the inscription of the site. At the end of the year, it's long history, but I make it short.
Yes, sir.
At the end of the year, December 1992, we met in the United States in a city called Santa Fe, the region called New Mexico. Santa Fe, December, full of snow. There, the World Heritage Committee was meeting. And one item in the agenda of the World Heritage Committee, which is composed, as you know, by 21 member states elected by the General Assembly of member states of the Convention of 72. Director General Federico Mayor was with us. So he was really taking this question of Angkor very seriously. And we had discussions, in particular with one NGO, which is in this convention. We have two NGOs working for UNESCO for the convention. One is called ICOMOS, International Council of Monuments and Sites. And the second is called IUCN, the International Union for Conservation of Nature. Because this convention is particular convention, very important for the world, because it is dealing with the protection of world cultural and natural heritage.
And Angkor is part of both.
Absolutely,
worlds,
because
yes.
the park which was presented by, at that time, His Excellency, the Minister Van Molivan, who was the advisor of the king, he thought that a perimeter should be designated of 400 square kilometers, which is not only one temple, hundreds of temples were included and represented the bulk of the Khmer Empire. We had discussions, and finally, for the first time, after these discussions, because when a country is presenting a site, a country with having no difficult past, no war, no genocide, the country is presenting a site with a legislation, an administration, a budget, the personnel to be in charge. This country, unfortunately, was having terrible history. And the ICOMOS said, yes, it is very important, but. And there I was asked by the Director General of UNESCO to say to the members of the committee, UNESCO will assist the government of Cambodia to have a legislation, to have a zoning and management planning, to have a training for the personnel of Cambodian personnel, and to have also the basis of the administration of a World Heritage Site.
But the team started it from scratch, or
yes.
they copied the model from other places?
No, it was starting of scratch, because this was the first time that we, UNESCO, inscribed the site on the World Heritage List, and at the same time on the World Heritage List in danger. Yes. Why in danger? Because there were so many things to be done in order to have to this site a total recognition. So this was the history, This was December 1992. 1 year later, nearly 1 year later, October 1993, the Japanese government invited UNESCO, invited France for a meeting in Tokyo, during which the discussion was how we are going to follow all this work that was presented by the government of Cambodia and with the support of UNESCO. It was there the decision of creating an international coordination committee for the safeguarding and the development of the site of Angkor.
Yes.
And there we were having another good opportunity. The scholar, the expert, international expert, who was president of the World Heritage Committee of 1991, Professor Azzeddine Bechawouch, he was present, and he said, I have the experience of the international campaign of Carthage in Tunisia, and I can assist the Cambodian government in this very important operation for the safeguarding of Angkor. This was the first step, and we can say also one of the unique constitution of a committee, which, as you said rightly, was meeting each year 2 times. The committee was established with this also original composition. It was not said that the committee would be chaired by the Minister of Culture of Cambodia. It was said the committee would be chaired by 2 presidents, 2 representatives of 2 countries, France and Japan. And of course, with the presidency honorary of the government of Cambodia. This method, this system, which was established in 1993, is still functioning up to now. And last year, we had a very big meeting at UNESCO where His Majesty King Sihamoni, Norodom Sihamoni, attended with the Minister of Culture, Mrs. Fon Sakona, and many personnel of Apsara, the authority Apsara, with the Director General, Dr. Hampe. And we had one day, complete day, only on the celebration of the International Coordination Committee for Angkor.
Yes.
And then we added, a few years ago, Sambor Prei Kuk. You know now that it is important today, in fact, tomorrow, this week we were working as usual in the visits, technical visits on the sites where many countries and many teams, experts came to give support to Cambodia. And from the beginning, in addition to France and Japan, immediately came China, Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand, Germany, Italy. I mean, a lot of countries immediately considered supporting and giving assistance, technical and financial, to the safeguarding of the site and its presentation and its role for the development.
Is it their obligation, sir, or they volunteer to
It is volunteer.
Volunteer to study the site of Angkor?
This was an example, one of the best examples. You know, when we speak about UNESCO as a whole, and I worked for UNESCO until now for so many years, when I entered UNESCO in 1981, one of the big projects at UNESCO at that time was the safeguarding of Abu Simbel and Philae in Egypt.
Yes, sir.
I am saying now in my presentations, in universities, in meetings, in conferences, that the other big project that we can compare with Abu Simbel and Philae in Egypt is Angkor. Because many countries came here, and the role of the committee was one session to analyze the technical aspect of the work. It is always in June. Then, in December, each year, so we have two meetings a year, one in June, one in December, is the plenary session with the representative of the countries present and giving support to Angkor. So this is the model that UNESCO followed since October 1993, and which is now not only recognized as a very successful model, but last year when at UNESCO we met to celebrate the celebration of 30 years of work of the committee, the two countries always still co-president, Japan, France, they decided, the governments of Japan, the governments of France, decided to continue 10 years. So it was a very important decision taken in UNESCO in front of all the delegations, saying, we are so happy with the results of what has been done during 30 years that we want to continue another decade, another 10 years.
Yes,
and the object, the vision, which was presented by His Majesty the King and also the officials from the Cambodia, is we are going to concentrate now on the development and on the enhancement of the capacity of the Cambodians. I'm always saying, because now we are becoming friends with the minister, with the Director General and all my colleagues Cambodian, now I am really of the opinion that in this decade, the Cambodian expert will be helping other countries. Because there is an acquisition of knowledge of technology about the stone conservation, knowledge of technology about the brick conservation, knowledge about how to manage a site. And Angkor was considered as one of the best sites managed in the world. Voila, this is what I wanted to say in reply to your question. Why we are arriving to tomorrow, the 40th technical meeting of the ICC? Because it was built on a very serious roots with a very important philosophical approach of dialogue and cooperation. Now we are having the teams, coming from India, from Japan, from China, from New Zealand, from all the countries, Germany, etc. We are becoming friends. So what are we doing? The mechanism that is the ICC is based on the creation of two teams. One team, four experts, they are designated experts ad hoc for conservation. And one team, which is called experts for development, 3. These two, 4 and 3, that means 7 experts, are coming regularly to see on the spot what is done in Angkor Wat, what is done in Taprom, what is done in Bayonne, what is done in Takeo, what is done in Bantes, etc. We are working technically for between 7 days to 10 days. We go to see the experts. We see on the spot what has been done during the last 6 months, what is under preparation and what the implementation on the spot, and we do a recommendation. This, we call it the ad hoc experts in conservation. And then we have the ad hoc experts in development. They do the same. They go to the city of SIEM REAP. They go to the villages which are recognized as villages of inhabitants within Angkor Wat. And we see also what are the problems, what are the difficulties, how we can solve technical problems, how we can solve also logistical and social problems. And this mechanism, as I said, is functioning regularly. So tomorrow you will see, if you have someone from the press who will attend, he will see how many sites we have been visiting and how, in coordination with the experts from Cambodia, because there are sites which are now actually totally under the Cambodian responsibility. You have, sites like site where you can find the German expert, the French expert, the Italian expert, the Japanese experts, the Indian. But you have also sites where only the Cambodian have taken now responsibility and working on these sites. A problem also was raised about the finance. Because in the beginning, Cambodia didn't have the means. Most of the resources were coming from abroad. But because during the years, the site of Angkor became so important in terms of tourism, on handicrafts, on receiving population, that I can testify that I have seen this city, SIEM REAP, as a village with only 2 hotels, Grand Hotel and l'Hôtel de France, destroyed, not inhabited. We lived in the first mission in a house in the city, not in a hotel. But today, you have more than 150 hotels in SIEM REAP. You have restaurants, you have shops, you have... I'm always saying to those who don't know, because it's far from Europe, from United States, when I speak about Cambodia and Angkor, I say, the city and the site of Angkor is situated in a place where there is no oil, no gas, but the economy was built on the cultural heritage. Cultural heritage was the engine to develop all this, you know. Hotels like this one, hotels like the big ones that we have, they are receiving a lot of people, and this is giving work to the restaurants, to the people here. It gives also an incentives for agriculture, for the rice plants, for the fruits, etc.
So restoring Angkor is like restoring the economy of
exactly.
Siem Reap.
That's why in the title of the ICC, I repeat, it is International Coordination Committee for Safeguarding, which is our role as conservators, and development. We linked the safeguarding with the development because we consider that the people here, they should benefit from the site. How they can benefit? For example, we in the 90s, up to 2000, we supported the creation of new handicrafts. For example, here, silk was a production. It was one of the important elements in the life of Cambodia. But because of the war, everything was down. We supported the training, and now we have, for example, artisans d'Angkor. They are not known only in Cambodia, they are known also outside because the quality of the handicrafts that they are doing is served not only for the local public, but also the foreign public. And this is an activity which now is developing. People, they know that if they come to Cambodia, they can find handicrafts for wood, handicrafts for silk, handicrafts for paintings, etc. It gives life to the population. We cannot say that everything is perfect, but we are working into giving an example to the world on how a World Heritage Site can be benefiting to the people. Then we had the COVID. The COVID was a terrible period, but we continue to come. We didn't stop. Our colleagues of Apsara never stopped, even during COVID. But of course, the level of tourism dropped. 2019, 2020, 2021, until the COVID disappeared. Now we see a return of the tourism, and hopefully the normal life will come back. But the tourism was so important that we organized, when I say we, UNESCO organized with UNWTO, which is the United Nations World Tourism Organization, not trade.
Not WTO, yes.
World Tourism Organization. We organized in Siem Reap for the first time an international conference mixing between tourism experts and conservation UNESCO experts to show that tourism should be seen as a mean of development. And this conference took place just before COVID, and it was very successful. We had people coming from all over the world here in Siem Reap. But we want to continue to develop more and more also the life of the population. And yesterday, for example, we visited a farm. So we are not only looking at the stones, at the monuments, at the objects, we are looking also at the population, how the population is evolving. I can tell you that my privilege is that I am coming here every year. So I can say, and I can say that here, each year we see the progress, we see the development, we see, because I can show you the pictures that I took in 1993, 1994, and the picture I have now. It's totally different. This doesn't mean that there are no problems. There are problems, and this is why we consider that the decision of Japan and France to continue for another 10 years is a very good decision. So what we can say to wrap up, we can say that the ICC-Angkor is a model. We tried at UNESCO to create other ICCs for countries having crises, wars, and difficulties So we tried to create an ICC for Afghanistan. And
Based on the model.
based on the model of Angkor. But it didn't have the same dynamism that has ICC-Angkor. It worked for, let's say, 5-6 years. I was participating to the ICC Afghanistan because I was unfortunately confronted to the terrible situation of destruction of the Buddha in Bamiyan. And then I organized an international conference of experts in Kabul, but it was the first and the last conference where we gathered 80 experts from different parts of the world, and then UN afterwards said, we cannot authorize you to bring many people because of security reasons. We had another ICC in Iraq, because same, I was sent on mission in May 2003, when the museum, the National Museum of Baghdad was looted. 15,000 objects were looted. So we were sent, I went with very high-level experts, the director of the British Museum, the director of Massachusetts Institute of Art, the director of the Italian-Iraqi mission, the Japanese expert in Iraq. And we made a report which was put up to the level of the Security Council of the UN, because it was a tragedy. We created an ICC Iraq. Same, it worked, but it didn't have the dynamism and the move further like we have here in Cambodia. And unfortunately, it failed. It didn't exist. Then we had a terrible earthquake in Haiti. And after this earthquake, same, the Director General, said it would be good to have the example of Angkor, and we created an ICC Haiti. Again, because of security reasons, and you know that even now it's difficult to go to this country, unfortunately. So this is why I consider, this is really my feeling, I consider that this is a model that should be studied now. After 30 years of experience, we have to study why it is so successful. And I tell you why. First of all, I believe that the fact that at the highest authority of this country, there is a political will. And I wrote an article about this. I wrote an article about the political will and the strategy followed by the high-level government in Cambodia. It started with late King Norodom Sihanouk, and it continued, and I had the chance to know the actual king when he was ambassador of Cambodia to UNESCO. And I saw that after the death of his father, he is receiving us, not every day, but time to time. We go to the palace and we receive a very, very strong welcome, but also orientations of how, at his level, he sees the development of cultural heritage in his country. And this is why we continue to work with the Ministry of Culture. It was first with late Van Molivan, and then we had another very important, exceptional Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Sokhan, and now has Her Excellency, Madame Fern Sakona. I was working with all. And we continued the inscription of Sambor Prei Kuk. We continued with the inscription of Prehavir. And an ICC exists now for Prehavir, as you know. We continued to work on Koker. All these sites are now on the World Heritage List. You know, the example of Angkor pushed the Cambodian in Apsara, but also in the Ministry of Culture. And as you can imagine, I am always in contact with my colleagues, with Madame Sakona, in order to make sure that the exceptional sites of the Khmer period, which is a very long period of history, which started nearly 6th, 7th century AD up to 14th, 15th century, that are recognized by the world as exceptional World Heritage.